Hi, Marcy. It's Natasha. Can you hear me now?
Oh, now we can. Hi, Natasha. Yes, we can. You can hear us?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen and public, welcome to the June 13th regular council meeting. I call the meeting to order, please, at 1:01 p.m. Administration has one added item with regards to some housekeeping items that need to be done. So it will be Olds Municipal Library Board, Mountain View County appointment that I believe you've all been handed out. And that would be item 6E. If there's no further added items, may I please get a motion, please, to accept the agenda as amended? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I would make the motion that we accept the agenda as amended for regular and closed council meeting for Monday, June 13th, 2022 at 1 p.m.
Thank you. Those in favor? That's carried. Moving down to page 3 of your agenda, please, for regular council meeting minutes of May 24th. If we could get a motion on the floor, please. Are you good? Councillor Blatz?
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I move that the minutes from the May 24th, 2022 regular council meeting be adopted as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Blatz. Does council have any additions, deletions? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. No presentations and delegations. At this time, we'll move down to item 4, business arising out of the minutes or unfinished business. Seeing none, I'll move to number 5, please. And we have Natasha with us, Natasha Wright from Parkland Community Planning Services for item 5A, bylaw number 2022-14, land use bylaw. And I will... Mr. Director Greco for the introduction once again.
Yeah, I'll introduce Natasha from PCPS, and she will introduce the bylaw.
Welcome, Natasha.
Thank you for having me. Hopefully everyone can hear me. So I'm here before you today to present 2 bylaws to you. The first of which is bylaw 2022-14, which should be page 9 of your agenda. So the purpose of this bylaw is to redesignate Lot 1, Block 2, Plan 7054JK, which if you go down to page 12 of your agenda package, there is a schedule attached to the bylaw that shows where the subject property is. So the proposal is to change the land use district of the subject parcel from direct control District 3 to low density residential R1. So the landowner is requesting this change in designation. The purpose of the DC3 district was for a bed and breakfast operation, which the landowner has informed us is no longer in operation. So they would like to have the district changed to the R1 so that any future development proposals can be looked at more efficiently than with the direct control district. So the R1 district does apply to the surrounding land, so it is in keeping with the neighborhood. In addition, it is also in keeping with the town's municipal development plan. An additional part of this bylaw is that I am proposing, which you'll see on clause 2 of the attached bylaw. I am also proposing that the DC3 district be removed from the bylaw as part of this amendment. Since this is a site-specific district, it only applies to the current subject parcel. Once the designation has been changed, this district won't apply to any other lands in the town. And it was created specifically for this parcel. So that is the second part of the bylaw that is in front of you. So we are requesting that council give first reading to this bylaw today, and then set a public hearing for this bylaw for July 11th at 1 p.m. And that should summarize the bylaw for you today.
Thank you, Natasha. I'm certain that my council members and myself can remember this being brought to us from Craig Teal initially as well. So this time, I would ask council if we could have first reading for bylaw 2022-14. Councillor Daly.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that council gives first reading to bylaw number 2022-14.
Does council have any further questions to the bylaw at this time? Thank you. I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? That's carried. And now if we could please set the public hearing date, I'd ask for a motion, please. And Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I move that council sets Monday, July 11th, 2022 at 1 p.m. in council chambers as a date, time, and place for a public hearing on bylaw number 2022-14.
Thank you. I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Natasha, please move forward then to item 5B, bylaw 2022-15, page 13.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. So the next bylaw, 2022-15, if you scroll down to page 16 of your agenda package, you'll see the schedule attached to the bylaw will show you where the subject property is. So this is in the Southeast Industrial Area. So this bylaw proposes to change the land use district of lots 6 and 12 of block 1, plan 151-1656, so right at the intersection of 48th Avenue and 68th Street. The landowner has requested the land use designation be changed from direct control 7 to light industrial. So they have requested this change as they intend to sell these lands. And the light industrial district has a much wider range of allowable uses than the DC7. So the DC7 district is intended only for medical and or recreational cannabis production distribution facilities. So the I1 or light industrial district would make the parcels easier for the landowner to market. So the requested change is in line with the Southeast Industrial ASP for light industrial uses, as well as the town's municipal development plan. So today we are requesting that council give first reading to the subject bylaw and also set the public hearing for this bylaw for the same date as the previous one, being July 11th, 2022 at 1 p.m. And that is summarization of the bylaw for you.
Thank you, Natasha. We'll move over to council at this time then, and I would ask for first reading from council be put on the floor. Councillor Walsh.
Thank you. I would move that council give first reading to bylaw number 2022-15.
And I would call for the vote from council at this time. All those in favor? That's carried. And also to set the public hearing date, please. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I would move that council sets Monday, July 11th, 2022 at 1 p.m. in council chambers as the date, time, and place for a public hearing on bylaw number 2022-15.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. I will call for the vote at this time. Those in favor? That is carried. Natasha, do you have any final comments?
No, I do not, Your Worship. Thank you.
All right, thank you for being with us today, and we will close off with you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving down to item 6 on our agenda, please, new business. And if you could refer, please, to page 17 of your agenda. It's Town of Olds Bank signing authorities, and I'd ask CAO Williams to speak to this.
Thank you, Mayor Dell. Just an update with the obvious change in CAOs. So the main change is removing not removing Director Lindeman, but adding myself to the ATB signing authority, effective immediately.
Yes, thank you. As you can see, Michael Merritt is still the signatory on the Alberta Treasury branch, and we will now ask that our CEO Brent Williams be added. I would ask for the first motion, please, to be put on the floor. Thank you, Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I move that Michael Merritt be removed as signatory from the Town of Olds Alberta Treasury Branch's ATB banking accounts.
Does council have any questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. Those in favor? That is carried. And who would like to make the second motion, please? Councillor Daly.
Thank you, Your Worship. Furthermore, that Brent Williams be added as a signatory for the Town of Olds Alberta Treasury Branch banking accounts.
All right. And I will ask one more time, is there questions? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. Those in favor? That is carried. Make sure that he has an eraser in his pocket. Something, that's a good one. Welcome on board. Okay, item 6B, page 18, please, of your agenda. This is a proclamation, National Indigenous Peoples Day, and I'd ask CAO Williams, who would you like to speak to this?
I'll leave it to Director Wagstaff to make the introductions.
Thank you. And we have with us today Elder Doreen Burgum, who has done a lot of work over the years with the Town of Olds and a number of staff in helping provide some guidance and advice on our numerous different files that we deal with Indigenous relations. Specific to today, she is also a member of the planning committee for National Indigenous Peoples Day in the Town of Olds that is being led by the Moccasin House. So, Doreen, if you wouldn't mind coming forward, please, and just share a little bit of your background and history to both your personal journey becoming an elder and the connection with the Olds community.
There we go. Tanse Kiwao. Ne Papa, Ambrose, Métis La Femelle, Boudreau Dumont, Ne Mama, Mary, Métis La Femelle, Dufresne Van Ness. I said, hello, how is everyone? My father's name was Ambrose, and the Métis family names on his side is Boudreau Dumont. So I am a Dumont. And on my mother's side, her name was Mary, and the family names were Dufresne Van Ness. As part of the Van Ness family, my great-grandparents homesteaded on Section 15 in the city of Calgary. And they, in the late 1800s, they were, there was two families that were there, and on the 1883 map of Calgary, they were the only ones with buildings on their property. And my great-grandfather, Baptiste and Catherine Van Ness, script came along, actually, and the area of Calgary, it wasn't a city then, wanted to give them $100 for their property. And so my great-grandfather took them to court, and he ended up getting $10,000 for his property, which is probably $1 million to this day. So he did luck out. He was one of the Métis script families that didn't get sold out for $10 or $50 and get their land taken. But that's part of the Van Ness side. But it's always weird for me to come in this building because I was born in this building. The old hospital location. And I think 5 of my siblings were born here, and also it's that old story, what goes around comes around. And my daughter was born in Olds. So I never thought I'd return to Olds, because being born in Olds and raised in Sundre, I never thought I'd come back. In fact, I left Sundre with a borrowed suitcase and a cardboard box, and I wasn't coming back. Because I was the last telephone operator to leave Sundre in 1962, once I graduated, and AGT moved me to Red Deer, centralized the telephone system, and I worked there for a couple of years. So I used to catch the train from Olds to Red Deer for $1.25 one way. So it's almost weird to be back here, but I guess that's my life. In 2019, I did a story with Mary Hayes on the Métis, because most of us being born in Olds and raised in Sundre, everybody said, well, there's no Métis around here. Well, I'm afraid we've been around here for a long time, since 1943. And no hospital, no cemetery in Sundre at that time. I did a story of, the Métis story is in your book. So Michelle Jorgensen should have a few copies, and here's some copies for everyone. So speaking of our National Indigenous Peoples Day, it's pretty exciting to, because the Métis have been hiding in plain sight for 150 years, it's pretty exciting to be able to come out and be proud of who we are, our Métis-ness. And it wasn't till April 14th, 2016, that let me see here. 2016, recognizing the Métis Nation as its own culture and identity. Métis people were finally recognized as citizens in our Canada. And June 27th, 2019, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Ontario Métis Nations signed a self-government agreement with the federal government. So we are on our way to become our own nation and self-government, and we're in the process of doing our constitution right now. So that's probably a 2-year project, and moving forward, it's pretty exciting to be to finally be able to come out and, you know, teach the youth about our culture, and for them to come out and be proud of who they are. With all the cultural restrictions, we couldn't practice our language, we couldn't practice our culture. So it's pretty exciting times for me and our nation. In fact, I was invited last Monday and Tuesday to do the prayers for our Métis National Council. Had a meeting in Calgary, and I was invited to do the prayers for their meetings in 2 days. And then I've also been invited, I've got my message into the Pope. I sent my my message, and this prayer is documented at the Vatican as received. So I'm pretty excited about being Métis right now, and hope I have time to teach and educate people on who we are. So you're welcome to come and join us at our National Indigenous Peoples Day on June 19th to celebrate our First Nations, Métis, and Inuit cultures, and to share our music and our dance and our stories, and it should be a fun day. So one of these days I'll come and invite all of you to and teach you about our Métis education. It only takes an hour. I'll show you our national anthem, and I end with teaching our Red River Jig. So if I can do it, you can do it. So thank you for your time, and I could probably talk for an hour, but I won't take up your time. Get these
If you would
bylaws
just want,
passed.
thank you very much, Elder Doreen. And I've seen you jig before, and it's amazing. Thank you. Looking forward to it. Does council have any questions before we move to our motions? Yes, Director Wagstaff.
And no question, but if I can make a couple of more statements just before we get to the resolution itself. First of all, I want to thank Doreen again for her time today, just to come share a little bit of the story. It's almost like a teaser for what's to come on 2 weekends from now. Because National Indigenous Peoples Day is to recognize, help celebrate the unique heritage in our communities of the diverse cultures of the 3 Indigenous peoples, the First Nations, the Inuit, and the Métis. And also to recognize, as part of the Truth and Reconciliation process, that days like this are ones for all Canadians, as we are all treaty people, to come together, both celebrate, learn, and share together. So thank you, Doreen, for your commitment to helping lead this process. This is the 6th annual time that this community has celebrated National Indigenous Peoples Day. Of course, the last 2 years have been through some virtual methods, and we're back to being able to join together in gathering in groups within the community for those who are still feeling comfortable to get into groups like that. I do want to just point out to council that in the proclamation there will be one change. In the last clause, it indicates that the federally recognized date is June 19th, and that's not correct. It's June 21st. That clause is in the proclamation, however, because the local organizing committee wanted to make the National Indigenous Peoples Day in the town of Olds the 19th of June to recognize that that's when they have organized the events on the Sunday. So that's why they've requested that June 19th be recognized in the town of Olds, and that the federal day is June 21st.
Actually, I have one more comment. Maybe you can look it up for me. My brother told me that my father was the first patient in the Olds Hospital, the old Olds Hospital. If at that time he had gotten TB, and I believe he was sent here and put on an iron lung. So that would be nice if I could check that out. And
Certainly, we do have a history book that has been made, and we can certainly look back in the history of that for you and bring you some information back.
yeah, his name was Ambrose Dumont.
Ambrose. I believe I saw that in your book as well. So.
Yeah.
And we will do that for you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Who would like to put the first motion on the floor, please, for National Indigenous Peoples Day? Councillor Walsh.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to council to thank National Indigenous Day Planning Committee for their presentation and ongoing work for the volunteers of the National Indigenous Peoples Day Committee to be acknowledged with thanks. And that June 19th, 2022 be, just thank you first. Thank you, Elder Doreen.
Thank you.
We have a motion to thank you, and, oh, I'm sorry, I see what you did. And further, go ahead, Councillor Walsh, my apologies.
Further, that June 19th, 2022 be recognized as National Indigenous Peoples Day in the town of Olds.
Good. Any closing comments for Elder Doreen? Thank you very much for your time today. Looking forward to your National Indigenous Peoples Day for Métis Region 3.
Thank you, and merci.
Good. All in favor? That's carried. Page 21, please. Item 6C, wastewater consumption winter averaging. CAO Williams.
Oh, thank you, Your Worship. This is on behalf of Director Linderman.
Is that his?
Yes, sorry about that. So as council is probably aware, wastewater fees are tied directly to water consumption for each residence. And over the past several years, since 2019, I believe, we have been participating in what's called an averaging program, that during months of high consumption, obviously summer, we try to standardize that wastewater rate. So for 2021, this is to start averaging that year's, which saw, as you can see, very significantly higher consumption in water than previous years. I believe it's around 121,000, which will be going into this program. So if council is good with continuing this averaging for wastewater, we just look for a motion to accept it. Or, sorry, the bylaw, so 3 readings to update the bylaw.
Thank you very much, CEO Williams. I'll ask I would ask if council has any questions prior to the motion. Councillor Walsh.
Yeah, I'm just curious, is this on an individual basis? And if so, are these individuals going south for the winter?
Sorry, it's on an individual utility user basis, and I'm not too sure about the snowbird aspect.
Councillor Blatz.
Because this program's only run from July to September, the past councils had decided that we would do this, and it is averaged on their average consumption over the winter months. So we don't really have much control over whether people are away for the winter or not. But we did try to think. Our thought process was the fact that because people are watering their lawns and we know it's not going back into the waste system, that this would be a break on their bills to give them some advantages rather than charge them for their metered water consumption, which could potentially be going into gardens or grass, watering, that type of thing. So that's why we've done it that way, or that's why it was done in the past.
Continue with some questions from council before we put a motion on the floor. Councillor Ryan.
Well, I'm not sure, thank you, Mayor Dole, whether or not our new CEO can answer this question. And it's unfortunate that our Director of Finance is not here, but I know that 2021 was very dry, and that could be the reason why the big influx of money here, the increase, I should say, not influx, and also being COVID, people were stuck around a lot more. So do you have any idea of whether or not this will decrease in 2022? Is there sort of a feeling that this would go down if our weather conditions are different than last year? Because really, I mean, we were significantly drier last year than in the previous 2 summers. So what's your thoughts, CEO?
Yeah, I think given the moisture levels in 2021 is a direct contributor. The only thing for 2022 is that I do believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that the per cube price of water has increased from the commission this year, so that will have an offsetting impact. But so far, this year's already much wetter than it has been this time last year. So I would say it would stabilize, and that would probably look like a decrease overall.
If are there any further questions? Councillor Daly.
I respect this program in that, the thinking behind it is that, of course, people are doing yard maintenance and trying to keep their yards looking green and their gardens growing and so forth. I have the question of we thought about, or as council, should we be thinking of ways of deterring the use of water in the summer, at looking at low maintenance yards and so forth, and maybe putting an incentive into that rather than going down this path of the water usage and this plan going forward. I think environmentally, when we look at the crisis that is about to come about us with the supply of fresh water, I think it's wise that we start looking down this path, water conservation, rather than looking at giving breaks for people to use water. Just a comment I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Daly. As you all know, each year we do have water rations put upon us. We seem to have signs restricting water use, and I know even places like Glenifre Lake already have as well. So that is a very fair comment for sure, Councillor Daly. Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. There has been discussion in past years to do some more education, such as odd even watering. When is the best time to potentially be watering lawns and gardens? I mean, most people aren't aware that the ideal time is either late at night or first thing in the morning. And you can drive around on any given day and find people watering their lawn in the middle of the afternoon. And so I believe you have a very valid point. We should do a fulsome educational piece on it and make people aware of the costs of water. And there was to be a study done, but I think due to COVID and changing of staff, that hasn't been done yet. But I believe that we should be looking at it. I agree.
And thank you for bringing that to our attention, because it is true that each year there is a review. It seems there is a review done that I'm aware of as well. It seems to be in the paper quite frequently that there is a system that to reserve water. So if there's any further comments, I would then ask for a motion, please. Councillor Blatz?
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I move that the winter averaging method to be used to calculate wastewater consumption for the 3 months, that being July to September, with a minimum charge of 2 cubic meters.
Thank you. And of course, we're at the mercy of Mother Nature and our environment, but that doesn't say we can't revisit this again in the future at any time if it's entirely necessary that we have to. So, Councillor Cummings?
Thank you, Your Worship. So that actually brings up a point that I wanted to make here, just once we've made the recommendation. This bylaw, No, I know it is a recommendation that we're doing, but we're talking about a bylaw. So I'm asking a question about the bylaw that we're changing through this recommendation. If that's what we're doing here, because I'm a little confused as to why we're doing this here at council to do an administrative task in how we apply a rate. If it's in the bylaw to do this, is it that the bylaw states that we have to renew this every year, and that's why council is talking about it today? That's why I'm curious about this here. And if it is, and we're just renewing the bylaw each year, that would be interesting to know, because it's not discussed here at all.
Thank you for the question. I believe we just changed the rates on the rates bylaw, but I'll leave it with CAO Williams.
Yeah, and I might make a clarification too. As far as I understand it, that this is basically direction to administration to bring back and update a bylaw. Whether or not it's in our October review of our master rates, I would have a clarification on those two things. Whether if this averaging bylaw gives the authority to the master rates to implement that, but for now it's just the will of council is being measured.
Thank you for that question. If there's no further questions, we have a motion on the floor, and I would call for the vote. Those in favor? Thank you, that's carried, and we'll look forward to that, CAO Williams. Page 23, please, and another round at our strategic plan, and I'm going to move this over to CAO Williams.
Thank you, Your Worship. As discussed at PMP meeting last week, the direction was to bring forward the strat plan as presented. The RFD, I believe, Mayor Dahl, there is one slight wording adjustment in the recommendation. It says Plan B accept as information. The recommendation should be to that council adopt the strategic plan as presented. We're still waiting on some formatting and grammatical updates, which had to be done in the special software, but it will look more or less identical for council's vision and goals.
So what I'm hearing you say is you'll have some housekeeping in some grammatical words? Okay. Does council feel comfortable in adopting this, approving this as presented? We would have the opportunity once again to bring it back if it was grammatical?
Yes, if once the final draft is ready, it's everything from formatting the pictures to just some grammar corrections. Council will be sent the draft. If there's anything of substance to bring back, by all means, we could bring it back.
Thank you. Councillor Cummings.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would be more comfortable waiting till the final draft or the final product is available for us to approve. I'm happy to accept this as information, as is the recommendation currently written,
Yeah.
but I would not like to adopt it until it's actually complete and full.
Thank you. I was just going to note, it sounds like there actually is a little bit more than if there's going to be pictures, et cetera. And so I would concur. Do I have consensus with council to concur for, accept for information at this time? Okay. I would like a motion on the floor to read that. Councillor Cummings?
Thank you. I'll put the motion on the floor that the 2022-2032 strategic plan be accepted as information.
Look forward to seeing the final copy. Do you have an idea of the date it will be done so that we can move this strategic plan along and approve it?
Yeah, at council's regular July meeting, should be plenty of time. So.
Okay, so would you have a friendly amendment to add that?
Yeah, I can add a friendly amendment to be brought, for the final product to be brought to council at a later date.
On the July 11th, council? It's the only one we have in July.
If you want to be that specific, I'm not very happy with specifics like that sometimes, but at a future date, unless council wants to deny that one and go with a very specific date.
I am perfectly happy with your motion. I'm just concerned with the fact that there is quite a time lapse until the next regular council meeting after that, and we want to move this along. Councillor Ryan?
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I think if we say the July 11th meeting, that gives them almost a month for them to do the remaining housekeeping items and put in some pictures. So I'm comfortable with allowing that timeline as long as CEO Williams is good with that as well.
Yes, that's fine with me.
I would ask once again then if Councillor Cummings is okay with that friendly amendment.
Okay.
I call for the vote. All those in favor? That's carried. We now will move to item 6E, added item, Olds Municipal Library Board, Mountain View County appointment. CAO Williams?
Me again. This, as mentioned, a housekeeping item. The Olds Library Board is having some issues accessing its regular funding opportunities, I believe, from the province, just because of their appointments aren't in order. So it was an oversight on our part that we thought we didn't need to appoint the Mountain View County representative, as Mountain View County already did. But just to formalize it, as it is the Olds Library Board, we're asking that council appoint Councillor Gord Krebs to the OML for a one-year term that expires at the 2022 organizational meeting.
Thank you. I believe you all have a copy. I'd ask council please to put a motion on the floor. Councillor Daly.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that council accept Mount View County Council appointment of Councillor Gord Krebs to the Olds Municipal Library Board and endorse the appointment to the OML for a term of 1 year to expire at the 2022 organizational meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Daly. If there's no further questions, I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. No reports this period. Page 32, please, item 8A, and I will move this to CAO Williams.
Yes, so this is another item under finance. Director Lehman asked me to speak to. Earlier this year, during our regular meter reads, a property was found to have excessively high reads. Upon second inspection by town staff, we discovered that the basement had flooded with water approximately 3 to 4 feet high. The property was vacant, resulting in that was a $33,000 water bill that the insurance company of the property owner has since disclaimed. for whatever reason, they don't feel that it's an insurable claim. Vacant properties tend to have that gray area. So what this is in front of council for is the request from the property owner to forgive that debt. And so the amount is on there. You can read it just scrolling and, oh, sorry, it's $44,547.15. The recommendation from administration is that council receive this for information, which is essentially declining the forgiveness of the bill, primarily because it would be the rest of the taxpayers of the town taking on the cost of this, and that insurance also disclaimed it. So it seems, in our estimation, that there should have been more care taken. But happy to answer any questions in that regard.
Thank you. I will open this to the floor if council has questions at this time. Councillor Cummings?
Thank you, Your Worship, and this is directed to administration here. So earlier this year or later last year, I can't remember when it was brought up, there was a discussion of doing a meter trial in this coming year on a new type of meter to replace the ones that we have in. This, if I remember correctly, this new meter is a continuously monitored Wi-Fi meter, which, if I remember correctly again, would mitigate this type of failure of catching a leak in the future. I just wanted some clarification if I remember that correctly.
That's correct, Councillor Cummings. This year, council set aside, I believe it was 50,000 to 100,000, one of those numbers, but we're due to replace 100 meters with this updated technology in 2022 as phase one of a pilot program. And you're right, these meters have the ability for homeowners to check their consumption in real time. And then once the meters get set up and people are accustomed, we have the ability to add push notifications to them. So that you at a certain consumption rate, for instance, or as I understand it, when there are spikes in consumption above normal use, that it would send the user a notification. This will be still primarily on the homeowner to monitor their own use. I believe the town will have some ability, but I just don't want to comment or guarantee that the town could manage a few thousand utility accounts on a month-to-month basis. But that, you're right, that technology will provide, in a situation like this, much more opportunity to prevent it from happening. But again, 100 meters, we have several thousand meters. It's still a long ways off.
I can share that I was on the past original test with the town of Olds, and they truly do work. We were able to find a massive water leak on the neighbor's property across the street just from the type of unit that we had. So I imagine these are 10 times better now, because that was about a decade ago. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. Just a question for the CEO or clarity from the report. Am I correct, is my understanding correct, that it was the utility bill administrator that did raise the red flag to an abnormal consumption?
That's my understanding, yes. That once the meters were read, we saw significantly higher consumptions, so much so that the utility clerk sent our operator back to check the meter again, and within 3 days, I believe there had been several hundred more cubic meters of water in usage. At that time, he then started looking through the windows of the basement and saw the flood.
You a supplemental answer.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. Thank you, Councillor Ryan. No, just along those lines, I from the previous discussion, recognize the limitations around the technology we have around metering, or the lack of technology we have. So we're comfortable, though, that from an administration perspective, from an operations perspective, the town exercised its duty, for lack of a better word, its duty of care in this regard, and did what we could relative to monitoring consumption and detecting abnormalities of nominal consumption.
Yes, I would agree with that. In this case, really the reason that the cost, perhaps the damage to, is not higher is because we're the ones who reported it to the homeowner. Unfortunately, as the technology exists, it really is that utility billing cycle where we can catch those, and it's really based on the astuteness of our clerk right now. At a higher level, and these meters come into it, I think water loss in general is a big challenge for the town that we have to look at ways to address more strategically.
Thank you.
Councillor Daly?
Thank you. And this isn't in regards to this particular item in front of us now, but in general, if this goes down the path, or any other case goes down the path where it does not get paid to the town, does the town have a mechanism of putting a lien on these properties to be able to collect that at a later date if the property is ever sold or changes hands?
Yeah, utilities can be transferred to the tax roll, and that stays with the property, not the owner, essentially. Whereas utility bills, if they're not transferred to taxes, are with the property owner, not with the property. And in this case, it won't make assuming council accepts administration's recommendation, what will probably happen is that this amount, given its significance, will go into taxes. Then once it gets filed as a lien against the property for unpaid taxes, we can then enter into a payment plan with the individual to kind of help spread this burden out long term. Whereas right now, as basically an AR receivable, we're looking for a $44,000 payment, which is not doable for the vast majority of people. So it's not the best solution for this property owner. It's the best we can do, and it probably makes it a bit easier if it does when it gets transferred to taxes.
Councillor Ryan?
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I am just a question with regards to this incident. Just curious, would this have taken like several days for the water to be running? I have no idea like how much it would have filled up a basement, but could you give us an idea of how long this would have been occurring in the house?
Yeah, I try to do some loose math, and just based on what our residential services can provide, it had to be at least 3 to 5 days. We never got a look at what the size of the leak or the pipe, but whether we're flowing at like 2.5 gallons per minute, I couldn't get clarity on that. That tends to be a residential standard, but yeah, it's several days. And I think that's where the insurance disclaimer came in, because there are parameters around vacant properties for inspection and whatnot. So.
One more supplemental, Councillor Ryan, or a motion?
Actually, I was just going to make a motion.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Please.
Thank you. I move the council receives for information the letter requesting for the forgiveness of the utility amount transferred to taxes on roll number 4510300.
We have a motion on the floor at this time. If there's no further questions, I will call for the vote. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you for sharing this information. Now, page 37, please, correspondence and information, item 9A. And if I could just get a motion on the floor, and then we could go through these if anyone wishes to speak to them, or we can vote. Thank you. Who would like to make that? Councillor Blatz?
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I move that correspondence and information report ending June 13th, 2022 be received for information.
I open the floor to council at this time. If anyone has any questions they'd like to speak to, Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. Just one, I was kind of surprised to see the 2021 municipal year in review in here, when in the past, council always kind of had a purview of it before it became known. And this year, I don't recall having it prior to this, seeing this. So I'm just kind of curious as to, this is first I've seen of it.
I would just confirm, we did get it emailed to us, did we not? We all received an email with this, I mean, I did, and it seemed to me it went to everyone, but we can confirm that for you.
Well, it could have. I mean, I could have missed the email, quite definitely. That's what I'm asking the question for.
Okay. If we can confirm that from our communications quarter and get back to you? Are all council for
Yeah,
you?
no, thank you, and I apologize if I did miss the email for certain.
No worries. Thank you very much. Are there any further comments? We have a motion on the floor. If not, I'll call, yes, Councillor Daly.
Thank you. Just a inquiry, reading through the correspondence, I noticed there was quite a few letters to the province of Alberta speaking of concerns of utility costs. And I'm just wondering if the town of Olds has sent in a letter or any kind of communications with the provincial government, voicing our concerns as well.
Would have to defer this to the CAO. I have certainly not written a letter on behalf of the town at this point.
No, short answer, we haven't sent any correspondence to the town. I believe it was Redcliffe perhaps who started this chain, and I've since seen 4 or 5 municipalities doing comparable letters. I think it's written to the AUC, but no, the town hasn't done anything similar. It's council direction, though.
Thank you for your question. And we can discuss that in the future if you so wish.
Yeah,
I do believe that Director Lindeman might have further information perhaps she can share with us.
that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. I would then call for the vote. Councillor Blatz has the motion on the floor. Those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. All right. We will be moving into a closed session on our agenda. For those of you joining us via live streaming, the meeting stream will be replaced by a graphic and music will play. When the music stops, the meeting is reconvening. If you choose to shut down your live stream, watch the Town of Old social media feeds where the reconvening time will be posted. The social media feeds can be found at the bottom of the home page of the Town of Old's website. At this time, I would seek motion to move into camera, please, or closed session. For FOIP issues, we have item 1 and item 2, 2 items. Who would like to make that motion, please, to move into? Councillor Wilson, if you can please make a motion to move into closed session at 1:54.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl, and I would move at 1:54 that council move into a closed session under FOIP 25, disclosure harmful to economic and other interests of public body. And item 2, FOIP section 16, disclosure harmful to business interests of a third party, and FOIP section 20, disclosure harmful to law enforcement, with council to remain. And I look for guidance.
CAO Williams, who would you like to stay in for item 1?
I would like Legislative Clerk McKinnon to stay for item 1.
Thank you, and for item 2?
For item 2, it would be Director Andrew, who's on his way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I make that motion.
Very good. I call for the vote. Those in favor? That's carried.
You're listening to Topsify's Top 40 playlist, featuring all the biggest hits in Canada right now. Listen now on Spotify.
This Pride Month? No, every month. We stand with those who braved the way forward. The ones who show us we're all the same and yet so wonderfully, exquisitely different. Always here, always welcome, always proud on Discovery Plus. Start your free trial. Terms apply.
Hi, I'm Patrick Radden-Keefe, a reporter at The New Yorker magazine. On my new podcast, Wind of Change, I investigate a rumor I haven't been able to shake since I first heard it years ago. It came from someone inside the CIA, and the story was that the agency had written one of the best-selling rock songs of all time, a song that changed the world. So that was the tip that started me on this story, and it only got crazier from there. Listen to Wind of Change, a new original series from Pineapple Street Studios, Crooked Media, and Spotify.
Hey, Wendy here from Science Versus. For months, we've been covering this pandemic every step of the way. We've talked to Dr. Anthony Fauci about how political this has all gotten.
Oh yeah, well I make both sides angry every day, Wendy, so don't worry about that.
And we've asked, can we really get our vaccine come New Year?
I mean, you need everything to happen perfectly.
You cannot make it go so fast that you make a mistake.
Tap now to listen on Spotify. Back to you soon.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and our audience. I'd like A motion, please. We're rising and reporting for motion on item 1. Ask for a motion, please. Did I? Sorry, okay, I can do that. We're rising and reporting on item 1 for 25, disclosure harmful public body. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. I would simply make the motion that council accept for information the board update as reported.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wilson. I'll call for the vote. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Now we will move to item 2, section 16, disclosure harmful to business interests of a third party, and section 20, disclosure harmful to law enforcement. And who?
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that council direct administration to pursue an amendment to the police services agreements with the RCMP as discussed.
Thank you. I'll then now call for the motion. The vote? Yes. All those in favor or opposed? In favor. Thank you. I would like to ask for a motion for adjournment, please. Councillor Daly?
I so move that we adjourn at 3:07
PM. Thank you. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.